Chapter 63. Wednesday. Hey, stay with me, he murmured, shaking her lightly. Her eyes rolled back, black tears still tracing down her cheeks like ink bleeding through parchment. Without another word, he lifted her off the ground and ran toward the Rockwood cottage, his breath harsh in the cold night air. The bonfire's glow flickered behind him, painting his back in restless shades of orange and gold. Morticia and Gomez were already waiting near the hearth when he burst through the door, Wednesday cradled in his arms like a broken porcelain doll. Mi amor, what happened? Gomez asked, his voice trembling as he rushed forward. I don't know, Tyler said, setting Wednesday gently on the sofa. Normally she just passes out when she has a vision, but this time she started convulsing, and her eyes, his voice cracked. There are black tears coming out of her eyes. Morticia was already kneeling beside her daughter, a hand hovering just above Wednesday's heart as if she could draw strength back into her by sheer will. Has she been forcing herself to see? She asked quietly, her tone calm but threaded with dread. Tyler hesitated. She's been using Goody's spells. Morticia's eyes darkened, the candlelight catching the faint sheen of worry beneath her composed mask. These are signs of psychic exhaustion. Psychic exhaustion? Tyler echoed, swallowing hard. What does that mean? Morticia looked up at him, her expression grave. It means she might lose her gift of foresight, perhaps permanently. The room fell silent except for the faint hiss of the fireplace. Tyler stared at Wednesday's still form. When Wednesday finally stirred, her lashes trembled before she sat upright on the sofa, disoriented but defiant. Morticia was already beside her, her dark eyes sharp with maternal worry. You've been abusing your gift of foresight, she said, her voice low but edged with disapproval. This isn't something you can control at will. You must be patient and wait for your new guide. They will appear when the time is right. Wednesday's jaw tightened. I don't have time, not after tonight. Morticia's posture stiffened. What did you see? Wednesday's gaze was distant, her tone flat. The deaths of Galpin and Enid, and a woman named Françoise Galpin. Morticia's expression faltered. Françoise has been dead for over 15 years, Wednesday, she whispered harshly. Which leads me to think, Wednesday said coldly, that Donovan will soon be joining his wife. The air in the cottage grew heavier, the silence broken only by the creak of the firewood. Just then, Tyler entered, holding a small glass vial of shimmering potion that Morticia had prepared earlier. You're awake, he said softly, relief flickering across his face. Wednesday, Morticia began sharply, you need to hand over Goody's book. Now. Wednesday turned her head toward her mother with a measured calm. Don't blame him, she said, glancing at Tyler. He was only worried, just like you. Morticia's composure cracked. We were more than worried. You frightened us half to death, she snapped. Thing thumped his fingers in furious agreement from his spot on the table. You cannot bend your psychic ability to your will, Wednesday, Morticia warned, her tone softening but still firm. And you can't expect me to bend to yours, Wednesday shot back, standing slowly. You tell me to embrace my own path, and then you pave it with roadblocks. Morticia rose with her, the shadows of the candlelight playing over her face. Your foresight is not a weapon to be wielded, it's a gift to be respected. Wednesday met her gaze, unflinching. And yet, I like you better when you were just a crystal ball away. With that, she turned on her heel and strode toward the door, her boots echoing across the wooden floor. Morticia exhaled, her mask of elegance returning just enough to hide the flicker of pain in her eyes. She turned to Tyler. You must look after her, dear, and protect her from herself. I will, Mrs. Addams, Tyler said quietly. Thing scuttled up his arm and perched on his shoulder, giving an encouraging tap. Tyler nodded once, determination hardening his expression, and followed Wednesday out into the door. Lurch, get the car. We're going to Galpin, Wednesday ordered. Tyler blinked, startled. Wait, what? Why do we need to visit the old man? Did you see something, Wednesday? She didn't answer. When they arrived at Donovan Galpin's house, the place looked even worse than before. The windows were boarded up, the paint blistered, and graffiti crawled across the walls like a disease. Thing signed frantically, warning her not to go in, pointing toward Tyler, who looked uneasy. "You can wait in the car," she said flatly. "I promised your parents I'd look after you." "I can't do that from a distance," he said, glancing at the car but staying put. They both froze when they noticed the front door, unlocked, hanging slightly open. "Jesus Christ," Tyler muttered, stepping inside. The stench of alcohol hit them instantly. Empty whiskey and beer bottles covered the floor. His father sat slumped in his recliner, the TV flickering against his motionless face. "Galpin, I need you to tell me about your case," Wednesday said as she turned the chair toward her, and stopped cold. Donovan Galpin was dead. His eyes were gone, plucked out, and a sudden flutter of wings erupted from his mouth as a flock of crows burst into the room, scattering feathers and black dust into the air. Wednesday blinked once. "Well, there's something you don't see every day, murdered by a murder of crows." Tyler stood frozen, horror creeping into his voice. "Who would want to kill him?" "That's what we're about to find out," Wednesday said, stepping closer. She reached out, her fingers brushing the cold skin of his hand, waiting for the familiar pull of her vision. Nothing came. "I can't see anything," she muttered, frustration breaking through her calm. "Wednesday, maybe you shouldn't be using your powers right now, not after what happened," Tyler said quietly. "It's the only way to find out what happened to him," she snapped. "No, it's not, and you know that. We'll do this the old-fashioned way." He stopped suddenly, his expression darkening. "Someone else is here." Before either of them could react, the front door burst open. "Freeze!" shouted Sheriff Santiago, gun drawn as officers flooded the room. Wednesday and Tyler raised their hands as the red-blue lights flared against the shattered walls. "Wednesday Addams and Tyler Galpin," the sheriff announced, "you're under arrest." Chapter 64. Inside the sheriff's station, Sheriff Santiago leaned forward across the metal table, eyes flicking between Wednesday and Tyler. "What were you doing at the crime scene?" she asked. "She dragged me there to reconcile with the old man," Tyler said flatly. "It was under my mother's insistence," Wednesday added, voice cool as ice. Santiago crossed her arms. "How about you, Sheriff? What were you doing there?" Tyler asked. "The last person who had his eyes pecked out made a call to your father right before he died," she replied evenly. "Who died?" Tyler asked, his voice tightening. "Your father's old partner," Wednesday answered before Santiago could. "He said they were working on a case together." "I wanted to know what they discussed," Santiago continued. But Galpin wasn't answering his phone. "You wouldn't know anything about that, would you?" Tyler looked genuinely confused, but Wednesday's sharp gaze told Santiago she was already connecting the dots. "I'm going to need Donovan's phone, Miss Addams," the sheriff said finally. Wednesday and Tyler exchanged baffled looks, they didn't even know the victim's phone was missing. Before Santiago could press further, a familiar voice interrupted. "Unfortunately for you, Sheriff, if you're not charging them, you can't keep these kids here," Gomez said as he strolled in, calm but commanding. "I'm allowed to question potential suspects, Mr. Addams." "And I'm standing in as their lawyer," Gomez replied smoothly. "Unless you'd rather I call Adele." Santiago hesitated, exhaling through her nose. "That won't be necessary. They can go." As they left, her eyes followed them, especially Wednesday. In the car, Gomez's tone hardened. "Stay as far away from this case as possible. Especially you, Tyler. You don't want to be linked to another murder. You just got yourself cleared of all past murder charges." "Yes, sir," Tyler said, glancing at Wednesday beside him in the back seat. She met his gaze, silent and unyielding. She wasn't making any promises. Knowing he couldn't get involved, not after what happened, and that Wednesday wouldn't stop until she found out who killed his father, Tyler made a call to Wednesday's cousin, Adele. In Washington, Adele Addams was buried under stacks of legal files when her phone buzzed. She answered without looking up. "Tyler, what made you call?" My father was murdered last night, Tyler said, voice tight. By an outcast who controls crows. An avian? Adele straightened in her chair. That's rare. There aren't many of them. Listen, Adele, I can't get involved in this, but Wednesday won't stop until she finds the killer, Adele finished for him. A faint smirk tugged at her lips. You want me to keep her out of trouble? If you can, Tyler said. I'll be delighted, she replied, eyeing the mountain of paperwork in front of her. Thank you, Tyler said quietly. It's my job, she answered, then hung up. Tyler exhaled, running a hand through his hair. As he looked up, he spotted Eugene heading toward the beekeeping shed and decided to make peace. Hey, sorry for not giving you guys a heads up last night, Tyler said, walking beside him. Wednesday had an episode. It's fine, Eugene said. Your girlfriend comes first. Besides, I got held up too. So did Xavier and Ajax. Tyler frowned. Wait, you mean Pugsley went to the skull tree alone? Eugene nodded. Didn't come back to the dorm either. When they pushed open the shed door, both froze. A half-decayed figure stumbled toward them. Hey guys, check out my new pet. Pugsley beamed, standing proudly beside the zombie. No way, Eugene muttered. The story was true? Yup, Pugsley said, holding up a small brass device pulsing with blue energy. Clockwork Heart. I jump-started him. The zombie lurched forward. Pugsley zapped it instantly. Down, boy. Pugsley, you can't keep a zombie as a pet, Tyler said, half in disbelief. It's fine, he doesn't have a brain, Pugsley replied cheerfully. What if he decides to eat yours? Eugene asked. Then I'll just shock him again. Pugsley grinned. You guys will keep the secret, right? Tyler and Eugene exchanged a long, horrified look. Tyler, do you want to join us for prank day? Pugsley asked with a grin. Like April Fool's Day? Tyler tilted his head. I'd love to, but I'm not a student here. He thought to himself that he was a little too old for those kinds of activities. Suit yourself, Eugene said as he and Pugsley headed out of the shed, already plotting mayhem. Tyler stayed behind for a moment, double-checking the zombies' chains to make sure they were bolted securely to the beam before stepping outside. As he wandered around, trying to pass the time, he overheard Ajax talking to Xavier near the courtyard. Why do you think Enid's been avoiding me? She's hanging out with that Bruno kid now, Ajax said, frustration in his voice. Are you two broken up? Xavier asked casually. No, of course not. I mean, she would have told me, right? Ajax frowned. How did you break up with Bianca, anyway? Xavier paused and looked at him. I just said we're done. That's it? Ajax asked. That's it. Don't overthink it, man. You don't want to blow things out of proportion and end things over a misunderstanding. He gave Ajax a brief pat on the shoulder before walking away, leaving him looking deflated. Then Ajax noticed Tyler standing nearby. Oh, hey, man. You heard that? Pretty much, Tyler said. Though I don't think Xavier's the best person to ask for relationship advice. Ajax chuckled awkwardly. Yeah, I get that. But there's not a lot of people I can talk to about this kind of stuff. He rubbed the back of his neck. You ever deal with something similar, with Wednesday? At the start, Tyler said, thinking back. I learned early on she doesn't pick up on emotional hints. Actually, she told me that straight to my face. He smirked slightly. I probably overreacted at the time. But I figured out I just have to spell things out for her. If I want to get anywhere in a conversation with Wednesday, I have to be direct. Aren't you worried about hurting her feelings? Ajax asked. No, Tyler replied simply. She's usually the one who does the offending. If she ever crosses a line, I tell her. I explain what she did wrong, how not to do it again, or how to say it better next time. Ajax blinked, surprised by how natural Tyler sounded when talking about her. They're constantly going back and forth, he realized, but they actually understand each other. Tyler started walking off, then glanced back at Ajax. Ask her directly. Clear things up before the whole thing implodes. Ajax nodded, his posture straightening as a bit of confidence returned.